Hi everyone. Thanks for coming out. So, I'm gonna read, sorry, I don't even really need this. I'm gonna read 3 different translations. And they all sort of redefine what a translation is, I guess. So the first one is a translation of a novel manuscript that I had to read and reject when I was working for a commercial publishing house this summer. And I hope I don't get in trouble for saying this, but the book was just so bad. The only way I could get through reading the whole thing was to write down like really great lines from it and make a story out of them. So the original title was A Shattered Dream, and my title is Hard Work and Incredible Talent. Oh, sorry. This is important. Coach Amos Steak has had a recipe for cooking up winners. Hard work and incredible talent. Lake Walker had both. Lake also had 2 parents, Pam and Randall. Whenever Lake hit a home run, Pam and Randall would hug each other very tight. Lake's older brother, Cole, would hug his fraternity brothers, and Lake's younger sister, Amy, would eat her snow cone. Amy's teeth left strange, irregular marks on the ice. The day that Lake met Coach Amos Steak said, "Name's Amos Steak." "But everyone calls me Judge," Coach Amos Steak said. Coach Amos Steak had been a judge for 30 years before he was a coach. Coach Amos Steak called Lake a fine boy. Coach Amos Steak scratched his ear and looked across the field. Then he promised Lake $10,200,000. He led Lake into a locker room where a big screen plasma TV showed a snowy landscape. Lake's teammates sat on stools in front of their lockers. Coach Amos Steak called them guys. He spoke a little to Lake about Catfish and Mabel, his wife. The mystical power of the game bound Lake and Coach Amos Steak together. One night, Lake changed into striped seersucker shorts in the locker room. On the big screen plasma TV, a banana slug bit off its penis. "They don't regenerate, you know," Coach Amos Steak yelled from his office. Lake double-checked his fly. He was thirsty for a Gatorade. "The penises," Coach Amos Steak said more softly, "grow out of their heads." The bright colors of the plasma TV reflected off Amos Steak's all-glass office. Lake waved as he walked by the glass walls. "Goodbye, Lake," Coach Amos Steak said, almost to himself. Later, at the convenience store, Lake slammed into Gracie's scoop in the chip aisle. "Holy crap," Gracie said. Lake reached for her elbow. "I'm sorry," Lake said. "Don't touch me," Gracie said. Lake married Gracie's scoop straight away. Gracie brushed her hair with a pink brush and studied hard for her biology test. Lake liked that. "Hard work and incredible talent," Lake said to Gracie. Gracie agreed that Coach Judge's winner recipe had truth value. Gracie would have to find a talent of her own. Lake said, "Okay, but first, Gracie would bear his children." "Okay," Gracie said. "Milk does a body good," Coach Amos Steak always said. Gracie guzzled milk. She got pregnant in no time. 10 months later, Gracie bore Lake's child, and then she died. Coach Amos Steak offered Lake whatever he needed, jock straps, cups, you know. Lake's parents, Pam and Randall, hugged each other very tight. Lake's older brother, Cole, hugged his fraternity brothers. Lake was angry to see the fraternity brothers at the funeral. Even Lake's teammates had not been invited. Lake held his baby daughter, Fern, and he thought he would cook her into a winner. "Fern will study biology," Lake said to his younger sister, Amy. Amy licked a snow cone slowly, grazing her teeth lightly over the ice. "Fine," Amy said. Okay, so completely change of pace. The next piece I'm going to read is like a translation of like 12 different things, but it's mostly a translation of a chapbook written by a friend of mine named Michael Keenan. The chapbook is called Two Girls. I think it was published in 2009. And it's also a translation of Robert Herrick, who is a 17th century poet, and he wrote a collection, well, not really a collection, but he wrote a series of poems called Julia Poems. Interestingly, Julia was also the name of his mother. And lastly, there are translations from stories about female experience of enlightenment from various Buddhist texts, and there are 3 stories in particular. I'm just going to read them now because the original text has a lot of footnotes, but we don't have time for that. The first story is about a woman or a girl called the Weaver's Daughter, and she practices contemplation of death for 5 years every day. The second story is about a woman named Suba, who is a renunciate, and she meditates in the woods by herself, and one day she gets sort of propositioned by this man who is a goldsmith's son, and he tries to basically rape her, and in return she plucks out her eye and gives it to him. And the last story is about a woman named Panchachara, and she went through like a series of terrible tragedies until she finally like went mad, and then she gained enlightenment after that. Okay, so 2 girls. 2 girls, one living, one not, and Julia, you're one. Embalming. Every day for 3 years, the Weaver's Daughter reflected on death. Life is uncertain, death is certain, life ends in death. Seeing a poisonous snake in the field, she did not cry out and perish. Seeing a poisonous snake in the field from a distance, she went with a long stick and threw it away. When I perish, Julia, when a snake in the field, kiss me, Julia, when I am killed. When the Weaver's Daughter is killed by her father's loom, struck on the breast, she fell down dead, a saint, a relic hardens in my breast, you throw the body away. A snake, but my snake, the one in my field, my kiss, Julia, but my womb, when you went inside the tunnel with a flashlight and the bats and the vermin, you came out dressed in white, your extravagant coat of swan. I paint you in still life, Julia, an apple, a glass, a wind, a thimble, a mouth, your mouth. A knife appears on canvas, and I can't explain, Julia, it is yours. On a train to Rome, when a man showed you his knife, I ride train after train, Julia, he isn't there. On a train to Santander, a train to San Francisco, a train to Zaragoza, a train to Barcelona, a train to Granada, a train to Boston, a train home, and this is all I've seen. Cow palace, a butcher house, cattails, marshes, 2 goats on a precipice. When I am older, I will ride a train to where the eagle lands, a city of rain and violet streets. When I am older, I will be dead, Julia. The knife has appeared. Compassionate canvas, a river, a winter, and the river's winter. The knives, the eyes singing knives, Julia. The eye. Eyes of a fawn, eyes of a mountain nymph, blue lotus eyes, the Holy One seeing clearly, the goldsmith's son seeing her in the mango grove, the goldsmith's son in his costly bed, garlands, creams, ornaments of gold. In the forest she will sit like a doll made of gold. In the forest, the herds of wild beasts, elephants rutting, she will be alone. You will grow old with your limbs unseen, Julia, a body filled with corpses. She plucked out her eye and gave it to him, the goldsmith's son. Take it, Julia, it's yours. From the tunnel you emerged in white feathers, a flashlight burning in your hands. You emerge into this burial room, this dell in the woods, this junkyard where shadows are waiting under the night-lighted trees, the flowers of scrap metal, green and brown glass glowing in the trees, the bottles threaded there by a needle, rusted now, the bottles burning a witchy light. The ghost will come to blow them out, the wind, the dead. I embrace you, Julia. You're so pure. Mirror chambers under the ice of the river, under the blue ice, Julia, where witching lights burn blue. Effusions. The mad woman before her madness, locked in a tower for her beauty, for her own protection, her father said. Her madness began when she left her father's house, when she eloped with a manservant to live in a village. Her madness began when, many moons pregnant, she set out by foot from the village. When she didn't make it to her father's house, gave birth in a field. The madness began when, many moons pregnant again, she set out by foot again from the village, and a storm arose out of season. Her madness began when her husband, seeking shelter for the birth, was bit by a poisonous snake, when her newborn was devoured by an eagle, when her older child drowned in the river, when her father's household collapsed in the storm, when her mother and father and brother were killed in the house, when her grief was too much to bear, Julia, when she tore off her clothes, when the townspeople pelted her with stones. Wolves pelting from the sky, Julia, lightning a shock to your coat of white feathers. Julia's clothes. Mad woman bruised and naked before the town, Julia, her madness a dirty coat, her grief, the snakes in her womb, the poison, locked atop the tower, Julia, atop the holy mountain, clothed in uncorrupted light, the blue light of ice, of ghosts and lotus petals, your madness refulgent, Julia, all madness a drop in the 4 oceans of tears wept for the dead. I am gone to mine eternal mansion, Julia, you are gone, your swan shine glittering. One more piece, and this is thanks to Johannes because it was for his translation workshop that I took last semester. And this is just an excerpt from my project, but I basically did a creative translation of this Uruguayan author, Cristina Perirosi's short story, The Hermano a Hermana. So a little bit about Cristina, or I should say Perirosi. She was born in 1941 in Montevideo, where she lived until 1972, when she left the country to escape political repression under the state of emergency, which would culminate in the establishment of a military regime the following year. Perirosi had already published her first 5 works by the time she left Uruguay, including 3 novels, a collection of short stories, and a book of homoerotic poems, Evohe. Since she left Uruguay, Perirosi has lived in Spain and works as a journalist in Barcelona. She has also produced a staggering body of work while in exile, over 20 more novels, short story collections, and books of poetry. This translation that I'm doing first appeared in 76, in a collection of short stories called The Afternoon of the Dinosaur. So, my dear friend Jonathan said that he is willing to read the Spanish version because his accent is probably way better than mine. So he'll read just the first page.
Hey all. All right. Mi hermano a hermana, por Cristina Perirosi. Traducción por Thirii Myint. Cada vez que miro a mi hermana pienso en mamá, y sé que hubiera preferido que mi madre fuera ella, mi hermana, y no la otra. Tal vez mi madre hubiera podido ser mi hermana, y yo no notaría tanto la diferencia. Cada vez que la miro, cada tanto, pongo un disco, miro por la ventana, el cuarto está vacío. Solamente las fotografías que he dispuesto sobre la pared, claroscuros femeninos, delicadas poses que invitan a soñar y a meditar. Una mujer fina y esbelta suavemente, desperezándose como una felina. No se la ve la cara, solamente las líneas estilizadas del cuerpo. Es una gran fotografía. No sé cuántos premios recibió y yo compré el anuario fotográfico. Y ahí estaba, junto a otras hermosas fotografías de mujeres. Todos no cabrían en el cuarto. Cuando los veo, pienso en cosas dulces y sensuales. Tomar fotografías, escribir poemas, amar a la hermana. Cada una de las cosas por separado y después todas las cosas juntas. Quiero fotografiar a Olina desnuda, Sé lo he pedido, sé lo estoy pidiendo todos los días. Cuando sale del baño y deja un rastro del agua que me gusta seguir como un perro, y me voy comiendo las gotitas, me inclino sobre el suelo y las lamo. Alina se ríe, me revuelve la cabeza, me llama monstruo, su monstruo, acaso, no lo sé bien. Lamo una a una las gotas, ya que no la piel, le insisto sobre el asunto de la fotografía.
And then I would like to invite Sarah to come up to help me read the translations. So this is my translator's note. I can only write one story, because I wish I had written this one.
From brother to sister.
It is as if the story were mine, as if I were the brother in the story. My brother is dead. In some ways, the brother in the story is dead as well. The sister is not myself. The brother and the sister are grown up.
A dark thing.
Both of them.
No.
In this way, they are dead.
Hidden in the trees.
Children die. Their several deaths collapse.
Cavity in.
The sand.
My hand there, as if over her sex.
I run from Peridosi. I write this story so it will be mine.
My sister.
I run because I want to be alone.
Taking photographs, writing poems, loving my sister.
With my one story, the one story I can write. My brother dies.
At night when he was a child.
Though he is never my brother.
Nor has he ever hid with her.
But a child or a sister or a lover.
Alina.
Or a boy made to kneel in the street.
And sirens howling.
And shot in the head.
Who will protect her?
I write the story. I write it several times because I wish I had written it because it isn't mine.
No, Alina.
Peridosi is alive and the rest are dead.
It's the birds, it's
Only
the birds.
the dead are translated. Thanks. Alright. From Brother to Sister by Christina Peridosi, translated by Thirii Myint. That's me. Every time I look at my sister, I think of Mom, and I know that I would have preferred that my mother were her, my sister, and not the other way around. Maybe my mother could have been my sister, and I wouldn't have noticed the difference much. Every time that I look at her, every now and then, I'd put on a record, I'd look out the window. My room is empty, only the photographs that I'd put up on the wall, feminine chiaroscuros, delicate poses that invite dreaming or meditation, a fine and slender woman gently stretching like a feline. You can't see her face, only the stylized lines of her body. It's a great photograph. I don't know how many awards it received. I bought the photographic annual and it was there, next to other beautiful photographs of women. All of them wouldn't fit in my room. When I see them, I think of sweet and sensual things, taking photographs, writing poems, loving my sister, each of these things separately, and then all of these things together. I want to photograph Alina nude. I've asked her. I've been asking her every day. When she exits the bathroom and she leaves a trail of water that I like to follow like a dog, and I go devouring the droplets, I bend over the ground and I lick them. Alina laughs. She turns to me. She calls me monster. Her monster? Her monster? Perhaps. Perhaps. No, I know it. I am. I lick the drops one by one since I cannot lick her skin. I insist on the matter of the photograph. From brother to sister to sister to sister. Every time I look at my brother, I think of my sister because my brother is my sister now. Only children are allowed to look at one another naked. Grown-up sisters are embarrassed. Grown-up sisters do not like when I write the word semen. Grown-up sisters forget they were once a brother, and having grown up, these sisters are ashamed of their breast. They are ashamed to be looked at. My brother's body is small. From the base of his skull to the tailbone, he measures a palm's length. My hand is not very long. My brother's body is in a glass case in the hospital. My brother's body is in the ground. My brother's body is stuffed back into my mother's body. And the second time she gives birth, my sister comes out. My mother gives birth again, and my sister comes out again. I have two sisters. I am the third sister, the last, born from what was left of my brother. Grown-up sisters forget they were once a brother. Every time I look at my sister, I forget. Every time I look at myself. From sister to sister. Every time I look at my sister, I think of mother, and I think if only my mother had been my sister and not herself. I think maybe my mother is my sister, my mother, my sister. Every time I look at her, I think every other time. I play music on the turntable, I look out the window, the room is blank. Only the room isn't blank because of the naked women who stretch their bodies over the walls. Fine woman, smooth, shadow and light. Woman elongating, dreaming, inviting, meditating. Woman softly pulling apart and lacing together, faceless, outlined. Woman, bodies, many bodies, one woman, one body, one photograph. A prize-winning photograph, I think, from the photographer's annual. One woman there among others, other women, lovely photographs. All of them would not fit in my room. I look out the window, I look at my wall, I think of sweet things, tongues, taste. Taking photographs, writing poems, loving my sister. I think of each of these things separately, and then all of these things at once. I want to photograph my sister naked. I have asked her when. I have been asking her when she emerged from the bathroom, dripping a trail of wet. A trail for me to follow, my head bowed to the floor. I pretend to lick like a dog. I pretend, but I am a dog. I touch my tongue to the wood. I've splintered my tongue. My sister laughs. Alina, my big sister, she laughs. Alina, my little mother, she calls me her monster. I am. I lick the drops of bathwater. One by one, I lick them off the floor because I cannot lick them off her skin. I ask my sister again about the photograph. Right, thank you.